Tony D and little Joan and Truffle somewhere in the background, and this is a Screenwriter's Rant, The Minute You Wake Up Dead, starring Jamie Alexander, Morgan Freeman, and Cole Hauser. A thriller. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Thanks for coming out today to the Classic Bookshop and Gifts Store in Trenton, New Jersey. Had a nice time today. Nice afternoon. It was free parking on the street, so that was great. I got space right out in front of the store, so things went very well. I will be at the Harvest Festival in Point Pleasant Beach tomorrow at 1 p.m. at least until 2. I'm sort of at the table for Little Point Bookshop, so I'm not sure. I think there's going to be other authors there, so I may only be there an hour. I may stay the rest of the day. Kind of depends on how it goes. It might rain later. Hopefully it doesn't. But I don't think it's going to rain until at least 2. So fingers crossed my signing will be sunny. But I'll have books there. I won't have book 10 yet. Book 10 is available at the Pineys. Anywho, let's get into this movie. Morgan Freeman is the big name here. Although Jamie Alexander, I didn't realize she plays Sif in the Marvel movies. And Cole Hauser is the son of Wings Hauser, who you may remember if you're an old school guy like me from Maniac Cop and crazy B movies like that. He was always in those B movies, so now his son is making a go. He was in Fast and Furious and a few other big movies, so it seems like Wings opened the door for his son. So good on him. Basic premise is Cole and his wife find I guess one of them has a dad who's found dead. I'm not sure whose dad it is. And then Morgan Freeman is the local sheriff. Now, Morgan Freeman's getting old, and he shows his age in this, but you could, a Mississippi sheriff, you could kind of see it. Like he could get away with playing a guy who's like a year away from retirement. And it's kind of a good role for him. Kind of southern guy who's, we have to investigate kind of guy. But there's a lot going on here, more than meets the eye. And but they give it away in the trailer. That's a huge problem. So Sif here, Jamie Alexander, has a gambling problem. And next thing you know, she's shooting people left and right. Threatening a guy in a scene who's just off camera, who I think she's murdered, and then Sheriff Morgan Freeman warning Cole, hey, you got a real problem here, and it's really Jamie Alexander who's the problem here. It's not some outside force. She's got a gambling problem, and she's willing to kill to get the money. Finds out there's like $500,000 if he dies, and then there's November 4th. There's also dream sequences to throw you off. There's a dream sequence of Cole shooting Jamie Alexander, and another scene of Jamie shooting Cole, which may or may not be real. So, good on the movie producers for throwing those in, because those are perfectly valid red herrings, right? One of the scenes may be real, they may both be fake, or they both can't be real. I guess one could have gotten shot and the other and recovered and then turned around and killed the other. Morgan Freeman doing what Morgan Freeman does, sounding like this and talking very interestingly. You're hanging on every word because Andy Dufresne said so. But I think he's good in this role. I used to love Morgan Freeman, by the way, as Easy Reader back on the Electric Company days when I was a kid. If you're old enough to remember that. So is this any good? I don't know. I mean, it looks okay. It looks like your standard thriller. So there's twists and turns, but maybe they kind of give some of the what. I mean, it's definitely the wife. I think definitely the wife has got some stuff going on, but maybe they specifically made the trailer to throw you off the trail, and it turns out at the end, I don't know, Morgan Freeman set the whole thing up and he's murdering everybody in town. That would be a pretty cool twist. It turns out I am a serial killer, and all these years I have been unleashed with my unquenchable thirst for blood. Something like that. I don't know. It's not bad, Morgan Freeman. I mean, it's passable. I wouldn't fool anybody with. I couldn't fool the voice activated thing at Morgan Freeman's mansion, but I think you knew who I was doing when I did the voice, right? It wasn't bad. So first act, there's a murder. Sheriff comes to investigate. Seems like maybe there's a robbery gone bad or whatever, but something doesn't quite add up. Further investigation, start to uncover things. Who was the real target here? Maybe it wasn't the father. Maybe it was one of the couple. Turns out the Cole had some investments that went belly up, and people could be mad. Investigate that. Kind of a red herring. At the same time, go into the second act. We start to see problems with the wife. The wife has a gambling problem. She's hanging out with unsavory individuals, working extra shifts as a waitress. It's weird though, because Cole's character seems to be like a high finance guy, and she's working as a waitress, which is kind of like, I guess she's hiding the money she owes from her husband. He doesn't know about the tens of thousands of dollars I guess she owes, and so that's why she's doing it. But then wouldn't he notice, like, man, you're working a lot of shifts, hon, you never seem to make any money? Like, wouldn't he notice that? I don't know. Seems to me that she would just get the money from him and say, oh honey, I got it in a little over my head, but just this one time. But other than that, it seems like a standard thriller. And then of course Morgan Freeman's asking the questions. I'm asking the questions because you can't resist my incredible voice. So he starts to slowly uncover things, and then you get a big twist at the end in the third act. Now, again, they may be setting you up in the trailer, and if they're smart, they'll do that, right? They give you a credible murderer, in this case, the wife, and then maybe it turns out to be Cole, it turns out to be him, it turns out to be a completely different guy. That's what's tough about writing these thrillers. You kind of gotta have a really believable red herring, I believe. If you don't have a believable red herring, then it's like, oh well, it's not going to be that guy. He's not famous enough to be the red herring. You know what I mean? That's the problem on SVU. Like, the moment you see the special guest star, you're like, oh, there's the killer. There he is right there. Oh yeah, it's Brett Spiner, Data from Star Trek. He's guest starring. Yeah, he's the murderer. 99% of the time on SVU. So movies can suffer the same problems with casting if they only cast famous people. Like, a big thing would be to, like, cast a cameo of a super famous person as the red herring, and then boom, it's this totally unknown actor who turns out to be the real killer. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty standard. This is a kind of role a lot of older actors get into because it allows them to have their sort of gravitas and to do like a murder mystery thing, which again appeals to older audiences. He's an older guy. And then also he's like the leader of guys, so he can make, his deputies do all the heavy lifting, and it's semi-realistic because he's not actually in the gunfight like they are. Like, he has a gun, he might have a gun scene, but ultimately he brings in bruisers to do the heavy lifting, in that respect. So he doesn't, he's not going to do any stunts. He's too old to do that kind of stunts. Maybe they do a driving stunt because they can hide him better. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty decent. Would I see it? Yeah. I don't know if I'd go to the theaters to see it. Doesn't seem like a theater movie. Seems like more of a rental, as we said back in the day. Something you'd see on video on demand. But it looks okay. I do like Morgan Freeman in the roles. Now that he's not, like, when he was like super famous, like when he was at the top of his career, he started to do movies that I was like, what are you doing this movie for, dude? Like, when he did Wanted, I was like, really? But like, this seems like a good role for him. He's not like He's not like big, huge name, not the top of his game. He's just doing the actory thing he can do, right? He'll be good in this role. He'll be solid. He's not going to try to like take over the whole damn movie. I mean, it's basically probably built around him anyway as the detective. I could totally see them, if this hits big, like In the Heat of the Night hit big, and then they did a TV show based on it. So, like, I could see that being a similar thing. Like, oh, this hit big. But, like, Morgan Freeman wouldn't be the guy. They'd hire another older actor that sort of sounds and looks like him, take his place, and do the exact same shtick. Which, again, wouldn't be a bad show. In the Heat of the Night was a decent show. So, anywho, that's it for me, Tony D, and my various dogs. Check us out on Odysee, Bitchute, and Rumble for our more base takes. Today we have a Hollywoke hot take and a news blast. I will be at the Harvest Festival tomorrow on Sunday from 1 to 2. Hope to see you there, and we'll see you